There we go. Okay.
Wasn't much there though. I just,
Has anyone,
Oh, no, is it?
well, I got, a strange solicitation on my town email from somebody who.
spam.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay. Well, yeah, that's good to know. We
I
can.
sent it up to.
Okay, great,
I
great.
didn't notice any.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
welcome. This
you're not
is
supposed
the,
to-
Pownell Conservation Commission here. It's, 7:02, and we're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. So we'll just get a little business out of the way first, I guess. We can just do an approval of the minutes. I don't know if folks had a chance to take a look at that or if you want to. Were there any questions about anything we went over last week? Okay, cool. Well then, I mean,
Good to me.
someone want to make a motion to go ahead and approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes. I'll second it.
Okay, I think we can do just all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
I wasn't here, so I'm not voting.
Fair enough. All right, one abstention by Megan. Great. All right, so the next thing is reports and updates. I think since we've got the Williams College students here, I'd love to just, yeah, if you guys are cool, just giving us like a couple minute overview. We'd love to hear kind of what you're working on.
Yeah, totally. Hi, y'all. I'm Brody. This is Megan. We're both seniors at Williams College, both part of the State Director's Environmental Plan class. So currently, we're essentially working for the select board to help do some preliminary outreach to people in Pownell regarding potential uses of the town forest. So that's kind of the specific task we've been given in terms of eventually this data will go towards putting together a management policy that's required under the legally binding easement that's the conservation easement that's been so yeah, we'll be around at different town meetings. We just wanted to come and meet you all here in the Conservation Commission because we understand that we'll be working with y'all on this project. And I'm just looking forward to meeting more of the town community and hearing what everybody would like to see, what they want the land to look like, given the restrictions already within the conservation easement. So.
Great.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing sort of primarily like community outreach to try and sort of gather information about what we need. That's awesome. And yes, very, very much needed. And yeah, we've been talking about this stuff a lot, sort of in a lot of different meetings for a lot of reasons.
It's only October, but have you started? Have you started talking to people or what's the plan?
We haven't started talking to people yet, but we're developing an outreach plan
Yes.
this week and we'll begin
Cool.
likely next week.
And I saw there's plans to do like kind of a few events and things like that in town. And
Yes.
one thing that I would love to do, and I'm happy to help with this, or just to sort of at least suggest to you guys is maybe finding a few people or a couple groups of people we could do some slightly kind of more in-depth talks with. One big group that's been coming up a lot is kind of the like hunter and sportsman community who we really want to kind of have on our side here. And I think as a commission, we have to some degree a little bit of a blind spot on those folks. So we really want to make sure that we sort of engage not only those sportsmen, but people who are really interested in mountain biking, sort of. We could get a couple little kind of focus groups of people who are really into a certain type of recreation. I think that would be really great. And I'm happy to kind of run point on trying to put together a little hunter group. I've got a couple of leads and inroads there. So I'd love to have you guys on board just to like have a sort of general discussion about like how that's going to fit into the park. Like what sort of regulations we're going to want to have in the forest management plan. Because like, somebody has to draft those and certainly I don't know how to do it. So I think that would just be kind of an interesting experience just to kind of get involved in that community.
No, for sure. That would be great. I mean, anyone that y'all can connect us to
Definitely.
that you think would be, everyone has a stake in this, obviously, but especially, like you said, especially those who maybe we might otherwise look blanks onto, so.
Maybe Joe for biking stuff. I don't know. I mean, I know he's more of a road biker, but, or maybe he has someone we can connect with, but, yeah. And yeah, if anybody else knows folks that are really into fishing or any of the activities that one might be able to do up there, definitely like ask them if they have a group of friends that wants to kind of sit down and kind of talk, because that's something we can kind of help with too, just sort of gathering information and sort of collaborating with you guys. And yeah, we're here to help. And, you know, we all sort of have connections in the community. So if you're looking to sort of reach out to specific groups of people, we might have good suggestions on kind of where to go once you get to that point. So you have my email. These folks, their emails are all on the town website if you need them. We're all just kind of Concom and then some number at town panel. So yeah, it'll be really great working with you. And yeah, we're really here to be like a resource for you as much as we can.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I know you said you're just developing your outreach plan, but do you have some sense of the types of methods you'll use to reach out to the community and how you'll structure the feedback that you get and organize and analyze it? Have you had and then also, I guess my next question is this a 1 semester engagement for you so that this will be wrapped up kind of by the end of the semester? It's not a year long.
Yeah, for that second question, yeah, it'll be done by December, this when the semester ends. But we have been thinking of some ideas for how to reach out, and we're thinking an online survey of some kind that could be posted perhaps on the town website, or I don't know if there's a town Facebook page that people can
There is.
access. Yeah, and then also going to several events, like we heard there was the trunk retreat event that's happening, and also election day where we can show up and talk to people in person. Also thinking about creating a visionary workshop of some kind to engage people who are interested in the topics and have any other input they want to share with us, and going to different schools and the churches just to see different groups of people within the community that have any suggestions or input. Yeah.
Are you talking about the high school or? Well, young kids.
School, probably.
For trunk or treat.
Yeah, the front porch forum is good too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, yeah, front porch forum, a lot of folks use around here. So if you're gonna send out like an online thing.
Search it later too, or any kind of general.
And-
Less,
And for what it's worth, I think,
It's a Vermont, you don't know what the front,
oh, sorry, yeah.
That's smart.
it's
It's a,
like a little newsletter.
it's like an online message board that's just sort of, you sign up for it and it
I have to.
is for people within our little community here. So people,
It's free all over Vermont, and it's actually getting a lot of national attention
uh-huh.
because it's very,
Yeah, Alexander.
it's
I was going to
very.
say, it's like next door, which you're probably familiar with, and it does, for some reason, there is a Williamstown front porch
Oh,
forum.
there is.
And when you get to emails, you'll see, they usually have neighboring posts as well, so they'll be Bennington and Howell and Williams, whatever.
Right. Everybody gets a daily email. So like if something like that is in the survey, anybody who's signed up will see that. And also, you know, I mean, I don't know whether there's funding for this, but like, I feel like there are also a lot of people who we probably want to engage who maybe like aren't super tech savvy. So figuring out some sort of way to do like a kind of targeted mailing or something like that might be helpful too, just to get to those folks.
For sure.
And yeah, I love the idea of going to the school. That's a great idea. Like seeing sort of what the kids in the community want to be able to do in this town and for us too, because that's super important to us.
We also think that would be the way to reach parents who are otherwise.
Yes, absolutely. Really smart. Yeah, cool.
Where is the trunk or treat?
Elementary school.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah, that'll be really great too. Yep.
we heard that gets a good draw.
Mhm.
And we were planning on like either handing out a image of a QR code that people could just take and scan later on and take a survey on their own time, or actually giving out like a printed survey.
Yeah, definitely good to have the paper option also. Yes, for sure.
And do you have like a target of the number of responses that you're seeking, or?
We haven't set a target just yet, but do you have any suggestions on what might be worth reaching?
You know, you should chat with some folks over at the BCRC, the Bennington County Regional Commission. They just did a study for like it's sort of visioning for like this Center Street redevelopment thing that people were talking about. And they did similar stuff. They went to a couple events, they sent out surveys. I think they said, I mean, they were working on this a lot longer than what the time you guys have available, but I think they said they got like a couple hundred responses through the sort of surveying and interviewing and stuff. So yeah, I mean, if we could get that many responses, I think that would be a really, really great start. And certainly like you guys aren't the only folks that are going to do, like, I think there will be additional outreach to do. And so one of the things we'd love to get recommendations from you on is like, who did you have trouble finding connections with so that we can kind of continue to pursue those things?
Absolutely.
One other place that, the transfer station on Saturday,
Yeah.
On Saturday night?
Saturday during the day.
Where people
Busy.
take their garbage, so it's during the day.
Oh, sure.
So it's
Okay.
pretty busy.
And, you know, we may even be able to get the guys over there to just hand them out for you or something if you want to do that, because they're great about that stuff. Yeah.
At least giving them the paperwork and they could hand it out.
Yeah,
That would definitely be.
definitely. And I can put you in touch with Tom, who's one of the guys who works over there. He's a super nice guy.
Awesome. Oh, yeah, that'll be great.
Great,
Is
awesome.
anybody giving you feedback on your survey? Like, in other words, giving you thoughts on the questions themselves or the framing text about how it's even explained? Because we might have an awareness problem where people don't even know.
I don't know, are you guys at that point yet? I mean, you're probably just kind of spooling up.
It sounds
right?
like you're doing an outreach plan next week and then
Our
outreach.
plan, yeah, it will be finalized by next Wednesday.
Cool.
We're meeting with Tara then, Tara Parks.
Yep.
And so I assume we'll get feedback from her then on the survey,
Uh-huh.
but, we're also working with our professor who's done hundreds of.
Sure, right, yeah, that'll happen.
Environmental projects and
Is that so, like, do you have a time planned out for like when you're gonna meet with Tara? Like, is that something that a couple of us could come just like hang out for, just to kind of get the update?
see what I know.
Yeah, the time hasn't been.
Okay, I'll follow up with Tara, that's fine. Yeah, but yeah, I'd just love to be able to just kind of hear how it's going, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, okay, great.
Wednesday.
Any other questions for these guys?
Do you have a contact number?
Yep, I can give you mine if you'd like.
Okay.
These guys also, their emails are gonna start floating around soon too, but yeah, feel free to.
My email address is bjl4@williams.edu.
It's probably best to keep our communications on the town emails, just so we have kind of good record of all that stuff.
And then if you like my phone number, it's 984-369-4675. And my name is Brody Leo.
Leo?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my neighbor's a big hunter.
Oh, really?
He's very interested in like the agroforestry.
Who is he?
Maybe I could have him talk to you.
What's his name?
Jesse Herbert.
Jesse Herbert?
Herbert, yeah.
Huh.
He used to teach at the high school.
Oh, cool. Okay.
They threw him out because he was too big on the, he's always talking about the coming catastrophe.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, yeah, maybe why don't you send his contact info to me and I'll be the point person. I can kind of reach out to him and sort of feel out whether he's interested in sort of having a conversation. And then we can kind of take it from there.
Sure.
Because that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, anybody who you feel like is kind of a good, sort of thoughtful, responsible hunter is definitely sort of where we want to start.
Yeah, he's very big on hunting.
Cool. That's great. That's awesome.
Other states and whatnot.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
I, just from my experience living up on Skippery, there's a lot of posted areas all around town. And so hunters come and ask for permission.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say, I've heard them say they feel safer hunting on private land, just so you know.
Well, you know, if any hunters come to your place in the next couple of weeks asking for, like, the fact that they're
I
asking
will,
permission
sure.
says something
Of course.
about sort of their level of
Yeah, I
responsibility.
have a
so-
couple people in mind already.
Yeah, I mean, any of those people definitely like send them my way and I'm gonna try and kind of set up a little group just.
Okay, you want to be the point, okay.
Yeah, I was talking with Terry about that. Like, I think I'll try and kind of pull together the group to do this and then we can pull in the women students to sort of sit in on the meeting and we can maybe meet ahead of time and think about sort of what kinds of questions we'll ask. Cool.
So you want all of that handled through the.
Yeah, send it to me through town email, that's right, and then I'll reach out to those folks, through whatever means I can to get a hold of them. Okay, cool. So let's just roll through the rest of the reports and updates. So, Bill, clarification on the ATV rules for the Fish and Game Club. I think we talked about this a little bit, right?
Yes, so ATV use, and this is coming directly from the plan that we have in place. ATV use will be allowed only on a limited basis. Access to the fish and game cabin, access to a scenic overlook for the enjoyment of disabled persons, and use of a through corridor. So that is a designed route between adjacent lands. So essentially there is still some access, getting in the fish and game camp. And I know we have hunting coming up, so I'm sure people will be using it. Just.
And then, so scenic overlook, like you may not know this, is there a scenic overlook they have in mind that they know about? Or is that sort of a?
Yeah, what have we been missing?
That's what we're for, I think, creating.
Okay.
I don't know if they have any.
I have a couple ideas we can talk about because there are a few places where views start to open up, at least in the winter time, that aren't too hard to get to and are kind of close to the Fish and Game Club. We need to be really sensitive, especially elevations above the Fish and Game Club. That's where the Taconic Hiking Club folks start to get a little nervous. Just because they want to make sure that riders don't have any opportunities to fully make it all the way up. But yeah, I think finding a viewpoint would be awesome. Maybe we could find a spot that's got potential for it and then sort of work with the Fish and Game Club and eventually take down a couple trees or something like that. Because proximity to the camp is probably important.
Yeah, I don't think they had anything in place now, but just looking forward.
Yeah.
I think that's what they anticipated.
Great. Okay, so it sounds like it's not necessarily just disabled people like we were thinking at one point. It's anybody who's a member of the Fish and Game Club can access the Fish and Game Club. Plus, there's this scenic overlook that we ideally want to be accessible for if somebody was handicapped, they could get in a side-by-side and go up there.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Cool, that's great. And just to sort of piggyback on that, something that I'm working on is also kind of engaging the riders, the people who are into riding dirt bikes, ATVs, whatever it is up there. So same thing goes, if people who are a part of that community, I think that's another group that we really want to get some input from because they may already have an outlook, an overlook they really like. They may have good drawings of the trails and all those things would be super helpful. And having them on our side would be super helpful too.
So it is certain types of traffic are legal up there?
Well, yeah, it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong.
I understood the ATV thing. But
yeah, so that's it. It's ATVs, dirt bikes, side by sides to the Fish and Game Club and to some hypothetical overlook, and that's it.
Okay.
And they won't be allowed on higher elevations on the mountain where it gets steep enough that you have all these erosion problems.
Yes,
So I think Donald Campbell was talking about this today. It's there's no signs up there right now. So nobody has any expectations of what they are or are not allowed to do. And I think just educating people about sort of both where they can't go, but also why we don't want them to go there. I think that combination of giving them information will stop a lot of people from riding higher because they don't want to destroy the mountain either. They're trying to hunt out there and enjoy the scenery the same way everyone else is. So I don't anticipate us running into too much resistance on that. I think the more we can engage them, the better off we'll be. Anyone else on that ATV stuff? Yeah, go ahead.
Just a question about the through corridor. We had heard about the ADA access to a scenic overlook and access to fishing game for the fishing game people.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on the through corridor and where that goes and who takes it?
So the ATV use through corridor would generally be people that own property on one side and or maybe the other side. So they're cutting cross lots. And there's certain owners that are already using it. We don't have a trail up through there yet to access the actual land, if that was what you're talking about, but So, anybody that's using the trails now, or it's not access that we've given them.
Right.
So
Oh,
it
it's
is,
current access, not permitted access eventually underneath, like with the conservation easement.
yeah, we wouldn't mind having, maybe access up through there, but currently we don't have any, we haven't designed a road and got it up there yet. So we're not really sure where they're coming in from, but it's got to be, parcel owners that are close by.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, that's not a super specific term there. And also, yeah, saying through corridor indicates that maybe like, are we required to have one of these access points, or like, does the jelly one count, right? Like if they can come in right at the top of the gravel pit and then go onto the easement up to the Fish and Game Club, like, does that count?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something that we'll probably have to sort of agree on with the folks that are riding it, more than like making any specific decision, right? Okay. Cool. Anything else on that one? All right. So let's see, takeaway with the meeting from Tessa McGann.
Did somebody meet with Sarah Gardner?
Yes, so, Jeannie was gonna talk about that, but, she, I don't think made it to the meeting. And I think these guys honestly gave a pretty good update of kind of what was there, so I think we can just roll past that one. Sorry, I missed that. So yeah, just real quick, I had a talk with Tessa McGann, the forester. She is like really on top of stuff. She's already talking with other foresters. She's talking with the folks at the Southern Vermont, like forestry program. And she's really set up to do like a very comprehensive, sort of inventory of the natural resources up there, looking at the plants and the animals and the water. And so really, I mean, she said like sort of a lot of that can be directed by kind of what's important to us as a community. So that's maybe something for us to think about or sort of engage other folks about, is like, yeah, sort of what do we want to prioritize just in terms of like.
When is she going to be doing her work?
I think over this winter largely, yeah.
Maybe, some of the feedback that we get would be.
Definitely. And I think she'll likely be in on those meetings. You're totally right. Like that'll be really helpful. Just because, yeah, it's like if there isn't anybody that wants to do like maple sugaring up there, then we probably don't need to focus too much on like counting maple trees necessarily, right? So yeah, we can she can custom tailor what she's doing to what we need. And it's amazing. I mean, she's the state forester. We don't have to pay her anything to do this. And she's just going to like oversee the whole process of putting this plan together for us. So it's not just timber management, it's like the whole deal.
So the whole plan end to end she's leading?
Well, it's, I guess, not like the recreation part of it, but sort of all the stuff that Concom was going to be really involved in, just in terms of kind of pulling together the inventories of plants and animals and mapping and stuff like that. She is largely going to be heading up that stuff. And I think Concom is to some degree off the hook, in terms of like, it'll take some attention, and like Jeannie and I are in that VORAC working group. So I think there'll be little projects that we'll sort of break off and work on as the Concom, but it's not going to be as much of like an all hands on deck sort of situation as I was expecting, at least, which is good. So she seemed very confident. Great meeting, and yeah, more to come on that. I'll kind of update you guys as we do these VORAC meetings.
Can I make a suggestion there?
Yeah.
I would feel more confident in terms of like our remit if we were to go through the requirements of the grant and just understand which parts will be covered by Professor Gardner's class, which will be covered by the forester, which ones might be, left, just to make sure that we tick and tie all the requirements and we understand who's on top of which. Just doing that kind of audit against what's required and who owns each piece, I think could be valuable.
Definitely. My impression is that right now a huge amount of this stuff rests on Tara's shoulders.
Right.
And I talked with her a little bit about it today, and I think what she was saying was that she's sort of, right now, that's what she's trying to do, is kind of wrap her head around the entire project. And then once she's done that, then I think she will be ready to start kind of delegating some stuff. So yeah, I think, but yeah, I mean, I think independently, like if there's a group of people here who are interested in kind of looking through that and just yeah, I mean, that group needs all the brain power that it can get. So anybody who's interested in spending a little time on that, certainly, yeah, like if you want to take a look through it and just like
No, Jen,
put together a good little checklist or something like that would probably be super helpful. And yeah, Jennifer actually, yeah, is working on, she's got kind of a skeleton of the integrated management plan sketched out, which is really great. So yeah, actually, I mean, if you haven't met Jennifer, Margaret, I think you'd really like her and you guys would get along great.
She's been a huge champion for the pollinator garden.
Oh, of course she has. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she got the grant actually, so.
did she? Of course she did. Yeah, she's incredible. So yeah, I mean, you could chat with her and maybe see
Yeah.
if there's any sort of backstopping on what she's working on that we could do. And if you're interested, or if not, I'm sure we can find some sort of human power within this group.
Yeah, okay, so I can,
Is that grant visible anywhere? Is it something that we can see?
The pollinator grant?
No, the other one that you're talking about.
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's probably, I can send it to you, assuming it's okay with Tara. I think it's probably all public stuff at this point. I mean, what we have is sort of a temporary plan that's in place while we figure out what the long-term plan is. And I think that's absolutely open to the public. So yeah, I'll check with Tara, but then I can send that to you.
yeah, it's kind of like the terms of the conservation unit,
Right.
because it was purchased in partnership with the Vermont Land Trust.
Mhm. And
The
yeah,
Vermont Land Trust has certain stipulations for what conservation means.
Right.
Yeah,
and yeah, even I can ask about like the VORAC, like the paperwork for the grant too. That's maybe a little bit more sensitive, but there's a lot of good information in that paperwork about sort of what the requirements are for the town to do in order to sort of qualify for this and sort of what the milestones are. So you might find that interesting too. Yeah, cool. Okay, anything else on that subject? Cool. All right. Clayton Park. Did you manage to get a hold of anyone over at Hurwa, Bill?
so Jen had email contacts. So they said we'd be all right, as long as we didn't get into any wetland permitting. So,
Okay.
essentially, I think what the big problem is the parking for, people trying to access the river. We have a couple, the fire department uses them.
Mm-hmm.
And the ramps, we have a gate across it now, and then we have a pump station that they park at. So and we don't really want them parking there. So essentially it's creating some parking. I think, maybe just doing like a small pull off there that you could just launch a boat and just create some trails. So they essentially said, as long as you're not getting any wetland permitting, and they said they would they want to come down here and kind of introduce themselves and get more involved. I think they had the park, put together, but it was just
part of
something
their-
that fell apart.
Yeah.
So with the flooding and everything, I don't think we want to try to put anything permanent there, but just access, the water and allow fishing, and maybe we could try to control some of the invasive species.
Uh-huh. So the fact that they already kind of had designated it as a little sort of pull-off spot means that they probably didn't run into any permitting problems, like wetland permitting problems when they were doing it, or like, yeah, it did.
We would just do it on our road right away.
Uh-huh.
So the town right away.
Okay.
And that's dry, but
Uh-huh.
essentially like it would just be putting a little bit of gravel on the,
Uh-huh.
and it wouldn't be anything that we'd spend really any money. It's already there. It's just getting the grass off of the,
Okay.
so you can actually park there. They got it mowed over, but it's really, taking care of it more or less than anything else.
And then once you actually get down and you're walking along the river, did they have any concerns about sort of like people causing erosion down there, or like whether that's sort of a
We didn't-
sensitive
I
area?
didn't get into that.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like that's probably kind of a good next step, is to sort of, maybe have someone come down and take a walk there.
It's a
Or,
knotweed problem, right? In Clayton Park?
The Japanese knotweed, yeah.
uh-huh. So yeah, it might be cool to, maybe this is another one of those things where like we could put together like a little kind of, meet the new potential park, get a few people together, take a walk down there. And yeah, if we could get Hurawat to sort of point us towards, yeah, like, I feel like it's like whatever expert could tell us whether or not we're gonna screw up the riverside by walking down there or not, or like how to avoid doing that if we are. Cause yeah, it seems like if we pushed on this, it actually might not put up a whole lot of resistance and turn it into a park. We just have to like get volunteers to cut some of the knotweed out or whatever and.
Yeah, keep up on it. And then
Yeah, not we.
it doesn't look bad in the spring when it's all clear. It doesn't look so bad. People do go down there and pick fiddleheads, I believe,
Oh, yeah?
you know,
Yes.
stuff
Oh,
in the
cool.
springtime. So people are using it.
Mhm.
And I think some people have fished this season.
Yeah,
They've got some trails out there, but it's just mainly just picking up any debris.
okay. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, maybe we could sort of think about finding some folks in the community that are really into it and get them to start a little group to, you know, kind of like the pollinator thing, you know, go like have some volunteers who go down and do a little bit of clearing every once in a while or something.
Yeah, it's some of the, I'll talk in a minute about the kind of conference I went to yesterday, but one of the things I learned was that knotweed actually contributes to erosion. So
Whoa.
having it alongside like rivers and streams actually accelerates erosion. So we might try to understand a little bit how widespread it is and what a remediation plan might be, because it's
It seems
It's an
to come
accelerant.
down- It's to come down in the water or
Uh-huh.
something.
yeah, and it spreads by water.
Yeah.
They used
Oh,
to use
wow.
it along rivers.
Oh, they did on
That's what
purpose. Oh,
So I don't know whether and when or how we would want to take that on, but you, like, certainly when you're disturbing land in that area, you don't want to further spread the knotweed.
Mhm.
And then if you have a knotweed problem, remediating it so that you kind of try to get ahead of it. The way
Cool.
that accelerates erosion is important. Some town conservation commissions, I learned, like that's 100% of what they're doing is knotweed remediation.
Wow. Interesting. Oh, I'm excited to hear more
I
about
think it's
that.
a lot more prevalent. I've been some places and I see a lot more than I see it here, but
Yeah,
It's
maybe
still
try to get
big.
ahead of it.
Mhm, mhm.
it still is a
And
problem.
then planting good things like kind of along the river instead to kind of crowd it out.
That wouldn't be a bad thing to start mapping it, you know, maybe
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
that's a good idea,
Yeah, yeah.
because you know, with all of these invasives, you just ignore them and turn away. And they get 10 times worse in a year, you know, that's why they're very clever at
Uh-huh.
crowding out everybody else.
It seems like you're pretty excited about this project. Like, do you want to just kind of keep pushing on some of these things and see sort of what the next steps might be?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome, dude. Yeah, that's a really cool project. Okay, anything else on Clayton Park? All good? All right. Let's see, mail forwarding, email, texting, Jeannie, Margaret, anybody hear anything about that or talk with anybody? I know Jeannie was gonna talk about like whether we could, whether it was safe to get like text message, all our phone numbers together so we could be texting each other.
The only thing I checked on with Tara was whether it was okay to forward your town email to an account you check more often, and the answer is you cannot do that.
Dang, okay, cool, good to know.
But I didn't ask about
Oh, no,
texting.
I think Jeannie was gonna ask about that. I mean, I think it's likely for the same reason, probably, you know, like, I mean, I think it's likely that many folks on commissions use text messages as ways to communicate individually with one another. And I think that's probably okay as long as we're not like doing substantive, sort of like meeting type of business via text message, which usually, yeah, we need to be sticking to, I mean, the same thing is like replying all, right? It's like if we're trying to like set up a time to meet, it's reasonable to do that. But like whatever gets discussed or followed up on should then be sort of in our town. I mean, as much stuff as possible should be town email, really. Like texting should be sort of a last resort, and ideally.
You know, this thing with whether or not there would be a meeting today because of the April, the minutes were for April and the posted minutes.
Yeah, so.
You know, and it's like people from not on the committee emailing me and telling me.
Well, I'm
something.
so glad that happened. And just for the record, like that, I think the issue largely originated with me and Tara and I were, no, it's fine. And I'm so glad that like people are looking for such things and paying attention. And like we got, Somebody let people know on Facebook. So thanks to people being vigilant about that stuff, we were able to correct the issue and get the correct agenda out there in time to have the meeting. So like, that's awesome. I really see that as a win. And like, if any of the folks watching were people who did that,
It was
that
Jim
was really
Kosis,
helpful.
he's a wonderful watchdog for in many ways.
Well, and,
This is lots of details.
well, yeah.
The date on the website, is that what we're talking about?
No, the date of the.
Yeah, we just,
But the date for this meeting on the website was April 24th.
Oh, okay, that's what it was, the date.
That there was no, I was trying to figure out when you guys were meeting,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it said
yeah.
April 24th.
it's hard. There's a lot of different places where this stuff gets updated every month. And I guess what I learned from Tara is that when Kate was the chair of this committee, she was doing a lot of this stuff and hanging the things up and sort of helping support Tara in doing that. And since then, Tara's been doing all of it. So I'm trying to step up and help her do that. And she and I are going to make sure that that doesn't happen again, is the goal. So we appreciate the feedback. And yeah, we want to make sure that everybody knows exactly when this is happening. And also, there is on the town website, like an email address for the Conservation Commission that goes to me that is for just sort of general questions, comments. So if there's ever a question about that, I really try and check my Concom email every day now. So I'll try and stay on top of that too. Cool. Okay. Margaret, you want to do the conference? I'm so sorry. And I totally, dropped the ball, and Margaret was able to go to the conference.
So I have a number of updates to share for this part of the agenda. So I think it was Bill who put on our radar that there actually is an Association of Vermont Conservation Commissions. You know that we are officially members of that, which is great. If anybody hasn't thought about or seen it in a while, I have a hard copy now of the Conservation Handbook. And if you look at the table of contents, it could be worth us just kind of moving slowly through some of it, because it really takes you through a lot about the basic nuts and bolts of a commission work and how to create priorities and achieve goals and engage the community and work in the larger context of conservation commissions and things like that. So if you haven't had a chance to review it, we can pass it around and we can take from it what we want. They have a listserv, so I don't know if you all get it, but I get the listserv, and we can post to it at any time. So if we have a question or an obstacle or a struggle or something like that, we can say, who's done this before? Or does anybody have a template for this? Or has anybody navigated that? And it's a really responsive listserv. So I wrote to them because one of my next steps from the last meeting was to see whether somebody would come talk to us. And they gave me a spreadsheet of the people leading conservation commissions elsewhere in Southern Vermont. So we can, I'm happy to reach out to some of them and see whether or not they'd be willing to talk to us and, or maybe even kind of be informal mentors to us, develop some relationships there where we can kind of check in and ask them questions ongoingly, in addition to having somebody just come to present. So anyway, so that's all great. They actually had an annual virtual meeting, which you can watch the recording of. It's a little bit over an hour. And it was interesting because they had presentations from 3 other conservation commissions in terms of the projects that they are working on, which was really interesting just to hear what other commissions across the state are up to. But they also had somebody from the University of Vermont present on what they're doing called a town forest census. So the University of Vermont is actually undertaking a census to understand where all the town forests are. And then what they want to do is create a town forest stewardship toolkit. So the objective of the census is to understand how UVM can support towns with town forests. So they did a pilot of this survey. Now the actual survey is out. I reached out to Tara and she got the survey and she responded already. So that's great. Our 1,000 acres is on their radar. But they also have some online resources already, like, Town Forest 101, so I can watch some of these things and let you know which ones I think are the best, but it was kind of great to hear that more resources for towns with forests will be coming. So another benefit of being part of this Association of Conservation Commissions is tiny grants. So we kind of got up and running kind of right as that grant cycle was ending. It happens once a year, but the grants are $250 to $600. The applications are due in April and they're awarded in May. So we have some time, but if we wanted to think about perhaps submitting something for a little bit of funding, that's one of the benefits of being a member. So yesterday I went to a day-long conference up in Randolph hosted by the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board 2024 Conservation Conference, and the Association of Vermont Conservation Commissions was there. They had a panel with other conservation commissions, but also just the conservation priorities of the state and presentations. I'm happy to pass along like what some of the different sessions were, but it's great because I met a lot of different people from across the state and told them a little bit about our town forest and what we were up to. And they're really eager to be supportive and they're excited that we have this town forest that we're stewarding. One of the people who everyone told me that we should talk to is someone named Jens Helke, who's from the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. And he has been a huge resource to lots of other conservation commissions, especially as they're finding their groove. And so he actually wrote to me today and said he'd be happy to come talk to us anytime. And he suggested a number of resources, and they have like a leadership training series and things like that. So I'm happy to kind of go through these different materials and curate them a little bit. But when we feel like the time is right, like maybe after we understand like of all the responsibilities in the town forest stewardship, which ones are going to fall to us or something like that, maybe to have Jens come and talk to us about how to really get the focus that we're all craving and what he's seen work in other conservation commissions. And then as I watch some of these different things, I can either give you the takeaways or let you know whether I think it's worth actually watching it yourself. So anyway, there's just a great community out there, lots of stuff that we can plug into and people are really excited to be supportive. So I think as next steps, I'll write back to Jens and just let him know where we are and what we're up to and maybe ask, to understand a little bit about like how he thinks he can most be helpful. And then I'll also maybe do a little bit of outreach to some other Southern Vermont conservation commissions and just find out whether or not they'd be willing to talk to us a little bit about what we're up to.
Cool. Well, yeah. And, for the, for like individuals that are helping with other conservation commissions, like I want to really make sure people feel empowered to just, like you said, sort of start these informal relationships with those people too. Cause yeah, it's like having people come talk is always so helpful, but also like we only get an hour a month.
Right.
So like, I think this guy Jens sounds amazing. And I think you're right. We should totally talk with him. And I think like if you can send that spreadsheet around of like folks that are running other conservation commissions, maybe each of us can just like reach out to one of these people, set up an informal meeting and just try and kind of do the same information gathering that we would do if somebody came to the whole commission. And then we can just do a quick presentation on sort of what the takeaways are. Cause that's great.
I can just send a note to everybody on the spreadsheet and just say, hey, we're looking for people to pair up with who would be interested. And once I have those names back, share those with the group and then we can kind of buddy up with them.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that you mentioned that I think is really important is like at some point we should pick a meeting where we can really sit down and do some kind of high level visioning and sort of organizing of like, yeah, what are our real goals here? Because like you said, we're just like flying by the seat of our pants. And I think now as sort of the town forest stuff is going up, I think it's starting to become more clear kind of what kind of bandwidth we have, what the other projects are. There are a few other things that we definitely want to kind of focus on, but doing some really sort of high level strategy thinking and just really focusing on that for one meeting would probably be really helpful at some point.
Great. Yeah. I'm happy to follow up on those things.
Cool. Thanks, Margaret. Thanks for going to that. Yeah.
Cool.
Where did you get the Vermont Conservation Commission handbook?
They have a PDF on their website, which is publicly available, but they also gave us that one to keep for anybody who prefers paper. So if people want to kind of take turns flipping through it, yeah, for sure.
Nice. Well, yeah, and if you really get into that and you want to start kind of putting together some kind of little outline of sort of things you think might be good to prioritize in terms of like that visioning, feel free to start any suggestions. Great, yeah, definitely.
Well, anyway, thanks, Phil, for putting it on the radar. I think that'll be super valuable. So
yeah, thanks for going. Yeah, that's great. Okay, any other questions on that? Anything else? Any other takeaways, Margaret?
No, that's it.
Great. Okay. So Hoosick River pamphlet project with MCLA. We doing okay on time here? Okay, we got a few more minutes. Hoosick River, did you manage to get in touch with anyone at MCLA?
So she's willing to work with us. I haven't finalized any details with her. I have to sit down or meet with her at some point, but she said they're willing to do some collaborations.
Cool. So maybe that's realistically, that's probably like a spring semester sort of thing versus a fall semester at this point.
I'm not sure. I mean, she might be able to get something. I'm not sure. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
just-
Yeah, you can follow up with her, see what she's thinking. I mean, I don't think it's obviously the more projects we can get going, the better, but also, yeah, it's no enormous rush. And I know that, students have such a short period of time to be able to take on a project. But yeah, I mean, keep
I'll
following
see
that
what-
thread, man. That's great. Any other questions on that? Anyone else want to get involved in that project? This is putting together a pamphlet to send out to landowners that own frontage on the Hoosick River to sort of give them information to empower them about what types of plants they want to avoid, what they might want to plant. It's to sort of help prevent erosion and sort of maintain health of the river. So
Do we know whether or not Hura has ever attempted something like that or made a start to anything like that?
He gave us the pamphlet.
That was on the Battenkill, right?
yeah, that was
Oh, yeah. Yes,
what
sorry.
was that guy's name? Jim Henderson.
Yeah, he was actually at the conference
Oh, was he?
yesterday.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Get out copies of that pamphlet. That's on the Battenkill, right? So we were gonna make a similar one
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the Hoosick, but I was wondering if Hura, which already does so much with the Hoosick, had ever done anything.
It's a good question.
Before we go reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, yeah.
Say, hey, is this something you've
Well,
considered?
geez, I mean, if we can kind of take the bat and kill thing and the Hurrah thing and just mash them together and put Powell on top or whatever, that, and Jim really urged us, he said, steal, you can lift
Yeah.
any of this information you want. There's no copyright problems or whatever. So yeah, that'd be a cool project to kind of pursue. And yeah, if you need extra human power on that, we can provide that.
Yeah, because I'm not sure, if that would be in her, like the pamphlet necessarily would be something that her students would take on.
Right.
So I'll end up working with her, we can collaborate on something. But
Sure, maybe they
we
can
can at least get
park.
the pamphlet started,
Great.
She might want to do some kind of research.
Right.
I know so it could be she does river corridor stuff. So it could be, maybe it isn't necessarily the pamphlet that we work with her on.
Okay. I'm happy to reach out to Hurrah and ask them if they've done anything in terms of sort of a pamphlet or mailings to locals. And then and then with those pieces of information, I think we're good to sort of move forward on that. Okay, cool. Okay, takeaways from BCRC presentation to planning board. This is the thing I was mentioning. So this happened, what was that, last week?
Yeah.
What were your takeaways?
I didn't think about I didn't realize this is gonna.
Oh, no, I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Was there anything in particular that you found sort of interesting or pertinent to what we're doing?
Yeah, I thought their outreach efforts were really good.
Mhm.
But I always feel like I want more, so, I want to hear from more people. What did you?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, overall, I saw it as a really positive thing. I mean, I think
Yeah.
where it crosses into there were a few places where I felt like crossed over into Concom territory. One was, it sounded like there's a lot of concern about sort of preservation of the historic character of the town. And that plays into a lot of different things, housing development. There were some
Yeah.
interesting sort of contradictory things about sort of, it's clear that people in Powell want more housing, but they also don't want us to develop more housing. And sort of
Yeah.
my read on that is they don't want us to develop ugly new housing that doesn't sort of
I'm
fit
hearing a
in.
lot of that kind of thing from.
Not just housing, it's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was
They
kind
want
of.
things to change, but they wanted they want it to be more livable.
Well, yeah, and also, the other big thing is that recreation came up a ton, especially cycling came up a lot.
That's right.
And I mean, that obviously maybe because that was a question that they asked a lot of things about, or sort of, maybe they sort of were inadvertently leading people towards talking about such things. But But yeah, I mean, I've heard just from a lot of people in town that really like Powell is very unique in its sort of assets as a biking
Yes, yes.
spot, both for road bikers, gravel bikers, and also like hardcore like mountain bikers. So and bike commuters who, yeah, like we would love to be able to find a way to serve. So finding ways to kind of lean into that. And I think one easy thing we can do on that is just really mapping. It's like, luckily the roads are already there. It's just,
Signage too, I mean.
yes. And so maybe one of those tiny grants could go towards getting some signage
I was
up,
a
you
little
know?
disappointed that they didn't, because in the focus group that I was, in, when you were there, I thought there was a lot of discussion of that people didn't even know Pownell Center was here
Right,
from the highway, from Route 7.
definitely.
So, and there's no signs for the town hall, or there's very little, and there's all over town, really.
Well,
Not
that's.
just Center Street.
That's something that I think, I mean, we should look at the sort of list of things that we are, I mean, I don't know, you looked like maybe you were.
Only that on that virtual summit, when there were presentations from other conservation commissions, one of them was talking about how much success they had partnering with a local high school and their wood shop to build signage and benches and all of this other stuff. And so it was a really
Great
nice
idea.
collaboration. It was only kind of the cost of materials. And then the students actually made some of these resources that supported the town. And I thought that was a really lovely solution. So it could be that
That's
we
brilliant.
can form a partnership like that.
Does CDC have a wood shop?
Oh, they have the CNC, they have CNC machines
Uh-huh.
and stuff, metal.
Does the elementary school have
They
anything
do
like that
those
going?
sheds and everything.
It'd be awesome to engage like kids in Powell.
Middle school used to.
The middle school, but
Pownell-
the elementary school doesn't have a wood shop or anything
No.
over there, no.
Anyway,
Middle school used to. I don't know if that's.
That's a really cool thought,
It doesn't
yeah.
have to be wood, obviously any material that would be appropriate, but yeah, it was a nice way of engaging the students and it's also very cost effective, so.
yeah.
Well, and at the same time, I mean, we kind of get a twofer there because like the students are gonna know all
Where
the
is-
cool
yeah.
recreation spots.
Go see my sign.
I went on this amazing
Yeah,
bike ride
and
the other
goes
day
our
that my
way.
brother used to do with a friend of his when they were like 10 years old living out here that connects between Williamstown and Pownell. And the only reason I knew about it is because it's something he did when he was a little kid out here. So like, yeah, I think there's sort of value in like figuring out where kids want to hang out and
Yeah.
making sure that there's like good spots for them
Yeah.
to do
Get
that.
them involved.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely, absolutely.
Take
That's-
ownership.
The Clayton, Park thing, came up a lot, back in Power Panel times, because, there were a lot of young people who would go down to the river there and hang out.
Mhm, mhm.
And they call it the beach. I mean, that's sort of near there, isn't it?
Well, there's
That's further
the,
down, I guess.
there's the town, there's the like, the Powell Beach or whatever over by Stewart's too, right?
Stewart's.
Yeah.
But it is a good, I think a lot of people would take their tube, you could actually tube down it,
Yeah,
take your tube out there.
yep.
So, once we get it open again.
So were there any direct takeaways for us or any next steps as a result of that?
No direct next steps. I mean, I think really, yeah, like the big thing that's in my mind is interpretive signage, right? Like it seems like for a lot of people, it's like they don't know what's going on in the community. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to get there. So like, that's a good thing for us to be just kind of like, in terms of sort of that high level planning, like, I think that's a good sort of priority that we can focus on because it's really low hanging fruit. It's like, there's all these great opportunities that are already there and people just don't know what they are. Okay, cool. BCRC, anything else? Thanks for setting that up and being on the, board to sort of hear. And they're going to come back and give sort of a report on like what their recommendations are, I think in December. So we can let folks know when that's happening if people are interested in sitting in on the meeting, because it's really cool stuff. Okay. So we'll just blow through these last couple things. So new business. Jeannie wanted to talk a little bit about whether we could get involved in the like flooding, wildfire sort of emergency management planning sort of angles in town. my understanding is there is somebody who's in charge of that and there is a plan. So I think that's one where I think Jeannie will largely head that up if she wants to, just to sort of interface with them and see whether there's any places where we can make recommendations or updates or anything like that. Real quick on trail mapping in the town forest, I may be repeating myself here. Just anybody who's hiking up there, tell your friends, just download free version of All Trails to your phone, track where you're going on GPS data, and then send me the GPX file. You can like export the data and we can use that data to start sort of building a map of all the trails. So yeah, that's just one little thing that if folks in the community are going out anyway, you can do to kind of help push some of those projects ahead. Okay, and we've got a couple minutes for review of the town policies with Tara. I mean, if folks want to take this home here, this was just sort of a piece that I thought was pertinent, that's like specifically
Yeah, that's
about
helpful.
the like boards and commissions. And it's actually kind of useful just in terms of like kind of the basic rules that we're supposed to be following and how we do votes. And so for me, like, I don't really, I'm not always, it might be a useful thing just to kind of look through or hang on to, just so we sort of understand the basics here. And if folks have looked through the town policies and they feel comfortable signing, I've got paperwork, we can do that right at the end of the meeting. And then I'll for Tara in our office or something like that. I think that's all I got. Is there anything else that people?
I did have one thing that's, on the planning commission, we're supposed to send recommendations to the select board. And I just had this small thing that I don't know if we're supposed to send recommendations or not, but and we've talked a lot about invasives. I just think that if we could get the select board to ask the town, the highway department to mow before things seed on the roadsides, that it would really help with the invasives problem, like poison parsnip and that stuff. So I just, is that how we operate? Are we supposed to send recommendations to the?
I think that's certainly one of the ways we can function. Yeah, I mean, do you like, I think in order to do that, we'd want to make sure that we had sort of a clear understanding of like specifically what we needed to do and sort of what that was going to mitigate. But I think it like if you want to work on this,
sure,
by all means, yeah, like if you can kind of come up with a plan of like what you think the most important things are, I personally, I don't see a reason why we couldn't take a look at that and sort of pass it up the food chain there. And, obviously, like, I wouldn't be shocked if the town just says, look, we just don't have the resources to do it. We're doing our best. And that's totally reasonable. And maybe that's an opportunity for us to mobilize some volunteers or something.
No, you would know that, do they have the resources to mow a month earlier than they do? Are there?
I just want to make sure we have time for public comment and stuff like that too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we are coming right up on it. Do you want to finish your thought and then we'll move to public comment?
I would just suggest it to the road foreman or the select board and see what they think.
Cool. Okay, well, yeah, why don't you just start working on a plan and then we can cut get up the ladder. Okay, cool. Was there anybody in there who wanted to publicly comment? We're sending Bill over to take a look here. No? Anybody in the audience here want to comment on anything? We really appreciate your input. I don't know how you guys feel. I really like being able to like engage the folks that are here like during the meeting instead of waiting until the end. I don't know whether that's legal or not, but like it just, I always hate having to like hold all my questions to the very end. So if you guys are cool with it, I like the idea of just kind of inviting people to contribute if they feel like they got stuff. Cool. Okay. So I guess we need a motion just to end the meeting here.
So moved. Adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, cool. See you guys next time.
This says the public comment period's at the beginning of the meeting.